welcome to your next steps for pelvic floor training. In this video, we are going to be going through how you take your pelvic floor exercises from something that you do in a stationary static position, taking it into movement, and of course helping you to bring that into more of your everyday movements and helping you improve your function throughout life as well. So in this video, we're going to be doing some exercises in standing, but also laying down on the mat. There's not too much equipment you need, but you may like to use your Pilates softball. If you don't have a Pilates softball, you can use a folded cushion, or if you've got a very light yoga bolster, they're also quite nice. But something that's nice and soft and that you can press into gently. Okay, so we'll pop that aside for a moment. So for most of you, hopefully you have now mastered your pelvic floor activation, and you can feel the squeeze, and you've been practicing your shorts, your holds, your sub-maximals, and you're starting to kind of understand a bit more about where your pelvic floor is at and how well it's functioning. So today we're going to start here in standing. Now, if you're happy to, just find a position where your feet are just nice and rested underneath your hips, and you feel nice and centered over your feet. And by that I mean that we're not sort of dropping and slumping, we're not swaying and arching your back. I just want you to think about, can you feel your center of your weight and your gravity going through the arch of the foot? And then very simply, just like you've been practicing, go. Can you do a short activation with your out breath? Can you do a hold? Can you feel the same sensation and lift that you feel when maybe you're doing it in sitting or laying? Now, it's absolutely fine in this video if you're feeling like, I don't feel it's quite as powerful, or maybe I don't have the same endurance. That's okay, we've made it harder. But I want you to just see if you can explore these and just keep that idea of quality of technique and not worry about whether or not your repetitions and everything is quite as good as sitting. Now, often sensation is one of the main issues that we see in standing. So if you're kind of going, maybe a little bit reduced, this is where we might need our softball. I'm going to get my softball, I'm just going to place it here between my inner legs above the knees. I'm getting that little squeeze connection into the legs. Now, I'm not trying to squash and pop the cushion or ball. I'm just trying to think about an awareness in between my legs. And I almost imagine, for me, it's almost like I've closed the circuit. And I've got this connection here now where I'm feeling feedback up into my pelvic floor and back down into the ball through my legs. And for want of a better way, I almost imagine that I'm trying to draw the ball up into my pelvic floor. So I'm trying to draw the ball up in towards my pubic bone. So have a go. Can you do your short squeeze with exhale? Can you get that activation and relax? Can you do a hold? Can you hold it there as you're breathing in and out and creating that little bit of endurance? Can you do that super fine, light, gentle lift and hold it there? And this is something for you to really explore. Hopefully, this will be helping you just get that little bit more sensation into your pelvic floor. And if this is helpful, then I definitely recommend you using it throughout when you're trying to take your pelvic floor exercises into standing and into movement. Now, for some of us, just being in this upright position, for multiple reasons, we just don't get the same sensation into our pelvic floor. So I'm going to show you some different hacks. Of course, you can use the ball with this as well. I'm just going to simplify things by putting it down, but you can keep that in. Now, I'm going to bring a chair here, and you don't have to use a chair. You could use your kitchen work surface or the sink. And what I want you to do is I want you to come in front of the work surface or the chair, and then just take one simple step back. So it doesn't have to be particularly deep. So you feel like you've got to lean slightly forwards to the chair. And then imagine someone's got hold of your tailbone with a little puppet string, and they draw your hips back and you soften the knees. So you're in this slight fold forward, so slight lean forwards. Now you can be lower down onto your elbows or into your palms, and go again. Exhale, engage into the pelvic floor and core. Do the same thing. Can you get the activation with the breath? Can you go for that moderate hold? Can you then take it to that low grade activation? And we're trying to see whether or not, does this position make it easier or harder for you? Okay, coming back up. So that's a really nice way where you can get into better sensation in your pelvic floor, but still be in standing. Okay, the last option that we can use is using a little bit of wall space. So I'm going to come against the wall, I'm going to lean my shoulders and my hips more, and you see I just instantly soften my knees and I come into a little bit of a squat here. So it's like I'm doing a wall sit. And no, I don't want you to work super hard in your quads, you don't need to be all the way down here. Just have hips and shoulders on the wall, and then the knees just slightly soften so you're in a mini squat here. And again, can you do that activation? Can you do the hold? Can you do the sub-maximal? Does it feel better if you have the ball here between your knees? Okay, so those are 3 options for you, with the ball in standing, in a forwards lean, whether that's down onto elbows, onto palms, or into a wall sit. And all that is doing is giving you a slight bias into different teams of muscles through the body. Just helping those muscles, those muscles are just helping your pelvic floor to get that better awareness, sensation and control. Okay, so what we're going to do now is take it into a bit more function. And one of the common things that people will say to me is that I'm fine when I'm staying still, but as soon as I start to move, I just cannot feel it. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to give you 3 exercises to have a go at, is we're going to come down onto our backs into a bridge. Now you don't need to have a head block in place unless you need that extra support at the neck. If anything, I'd recommend not having it. You might like the ball in between your knees as well. And all I want you to do is think about coming and lifting up off the hips and lowering back down again. Now if you like to do Pilates and you normally do that lovely curling action in the back, you can, but it's not compulsory for training the pelvic floor. So when you're ready, can I do activate, exhale, lift the hips off and pop them back down. And you'll notice I don't go particularly high. Now I'm going to see if I can do a hold. So this time I'm going to lift off, exhale, activate, lift off. So I've got my pelvic floor activating, I'm lifting my hips, I'm holding it there whilst I'm breathing in and out. And then I'm coming back down again. Now I want you to do that one a couple of times. Exhale, activate, lift off. Hold it there, breathing in and out. And then back down again. Now, can you still feel the sensation? Can you still feel that activation? Maybe put the ball in, take it out, compare between the 2. Exhale, activate, lift off, and back down. Now, usually where this goes wrong, and this is where it's, that's probably the wrong term, but usually where people get tripped up with this is worrying about having everything sorted at once. So if you're at the point where you go, yeah, I can exhale and activate and get my hips off, but as soon as I'm holding, I can't feel it. So there's 2 things to do. Number 1, stay there, exhale, activate, lift off, and lower. Relax, reset, off you go again. Exhale, activate, lift off, and back down. So you're activating that pelvic floor as you breathe out, as you bring the movement, and we're training the body to coordinate all of those together. The other thing that you can find is it's actually the height of the movement. So exhale, activate, lift off. You might find that I'm all right when I get to here, but as soon as I get higher, that's more of a problem for me. Okay. So I want you to be really confident that you can exhale, engage your pelvic floor, and lift your hips off. And then if you can stay off and hold, you can feel it whether you're down here in a little bridge hover or you're all the way full up into the top end of your bridge. Okay. Remember, you've got the option, like I said, for the ball to be between the knees or out, and you're going to just play around with that. The whole point of this workshop is that you work out what works best for you. This is about you exploring your pelvic floor, because when you know that and you're exploring it, you're going to be in control of how you're training it. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming into a kneeling position. So we're going to come up into high kneeling and we're going to stretch one leg out to the side. Now if your hip or knee doesn't like this, you can come to a flex position here. Now the reason I've got you here is that we're very open here in the groin, and a lot of people will find this harder to feel sensation and more disconcerting depending on your symptom. So I want you to try and level your hips, and again just go. Can you activate and let go? Exhale, activate your pelvic floor, let go. And feel, can you get that control? Great, okay, now try on the other side. How does that compare? Exhale, activate and release. Great, is it the same? Can you feel the same left versus right? And if you are feeling a difference, what else do you notice is different? Are you tighter in your hip? Do you feel that you're bracing or holding onto your pelvic floor a little bit more? Tanya and Laura will be doing videos as well for you to look at relaxation and letting go, but also mobility and range. So is there a problem around your hip that maybe is tighter that's affecting you? So every time that you step out, obviously not quite in this position, you're always finding that you're working against that deficiency. So this is a static position, in an open position to see whether or not can you do your short activations, activate, let go. Can you do your activate and hold for your full breath cycle? And then can you do that gentle submaximal, light lift, gentle connection into the groin, holding it there for 30 to 60 seconds. And I want you to compare that left and right. If there's a difference, I want you to also compare what else is different. Do you feel stiffer in your back on one side? Do you feel tighter in your hip? And that's where I want you to complement that with those other videos. Okay, so that one's a static one, very much an open position for the pelvic floor, more challenging in terms of sensation. Okay, last one is we're going to come up into standing. I'm going to turn sideways because we're going to go into our hip hinge and our squat. So just like we did at the beginning with the chair, I want you to think about just bowing forwards through the hips and then folding back up again. Exhale, bow, and forwards. And just see, as you're kind of nodding with your body, can you exhale, engage through the pelvic floor, and then release. And just see how far can you go. Is it just a little sway of the hips, or can you come into a full forwards fold? So if you think about day to day, you know, reaching into a drawer, you know, grabbing stuff out the boot of the car, reaching down to your baby, whatever it might be, you know, wrestling with your dog to get the lead on. I think that this is a really, really normal functional movement that we use all the time. And we've been replicating this in our bridge, and we've been giving you a little bit more challenge in that what we call the gate pose, which we just did. And we're trying to see whether or not you can control that. Now, if you're like, yeah, okay, I can get to, say, there. So it doesn't matter if you're up here or you're already there. I want you now to see, can you exhale, fold, and then when you get to your position, you go, yeah, that's my limit on sensation. Can you keep that connection as you bend the knees and straighten? And then come out again. So, to be clear, we exhale, engage our pelvic floor, fold to the point of sensation, and then hold the pelvic floor squeeze as we bend the knees for a little mini squat, and then stand up again. You can absolutely do this with a chair or work surface in front of you for that little bit of extra support. You can also pop your ball back in between your knees. So you get that little circuit of connection. We fold to point of sensation, and then we bend and straighten. And again, check in. Are you okay with the hip hinge, but you struggle to hold through the knee bend? Is it the more you're doing, the more you're fatiguing? Mark this down so you can see where your watch point is. Now the last thing that you can do, and you can use this for all of the exercises, is to bring your ball or just your palms together in a little hand press. And what this does is increases the activation through your entire core. So can you bring that in again? So can you do a little ball press with your hands, go to the forwards fold, and back up again? Does that make a difference to your activation? Again, does it make a difference as you come down into the knee fold, as you hold the pelvic floor? Release and let go. We're just looking for teammates to help your pelvic floor. There's nothing wrong with other muscles activating, because on a day-to-day basis, when you cough and clear your throat or bend down to pick something off the floor, you are using pretty much all your muscles. And we teach you so much about this muscle and that muscle. Actually, your whole body is working all the time. Just some muscles are working a bit harder, maybe shortening. Other muscles might be lengthening. Other muscles might be downgrading. But it is a kind of a symphony, a constant activation throughout the whole body. It's just responding to the different movements. So you're going to need to watch this video a few times through. I've crammed loads into this mini session, and I want you to go through and be inquisitive. Where did you struggle? What was easy? What position was more challenging? And work at that level. And if you're struggling, come and give us a shout. Come and speak to us. We're more than happy to help.